Started my first startup in '97. The world told me I was insane.
Our goal is creating future economies that are more regenerative and sustainable.
Something didn't match up. Why hasn't this become the next big thing? And that's where we invested.
The whole purpose of achieving anything in life is measurement.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. We have a very exciting session with 5 distinguished guests. And I wanted to first start off by introducing Belinda Hodkinson, founder and director at Magnae, and also Amanda Wyzenbeek, technical director of digital advisory at Mott McDonald. Also, Gigi Karmous-Edwards, president at Karmous-Edwards Consulting, and Miranda Mills, Global Digital Twin Program Lead at Wood PLC. Finally, Cristina Savian, founder and CEO of BeWise. We have several digital twins experts here on the panel. I'll give you a brief overview of what the panel is going to be about. So this is a roundtable on how are you leveraging your digital twins strategy. Digital twins are on everybody's mind these days, and it's no wonder considering the widespread benefits that they provide. In the meantime, we will be discussing, or in this roundtable, we'll be discussing and sharing experiences, the benefits and barriers to implementing digital twins for our built assets. And what I wanted to start off by asking you all, this was a great question that came up in the last digital twins panel, is what is digital twins? In maybe 2 to 3 sentences. There was a great quote that came from a former panelist. She gets asked 10 times, what is digital twin?
Yep.
And it's 12 different answers. So let's see what we guys can come up with. So thank you so much for joining.
Okay.
And we'll turn it over to Cristina.
Okay, thank you so much, Ian, for allowing us to come up again, this year. Last year I was with Amanda and Belinda, obviously talking about digital twins. So thank you, KP, for inviting us again. I brought more experts. So it's very interesting about these questions about digital twins. So as Ian said, I run a consulting.
Oh, wait, did we lose her?
I don't know. Everything got quiet.
We'll give her a minute. She might hop back in.
Let's hop over to Belinda for an intro, and Cristina, I'm sure she'll jump back in just a second.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose
Really?
Oh, there she is.
There we go. You're back.
You lost
You're back.
me, honestly. That's how we're going to start the session.
All right, that's number 2.
I'm here.
You're
I'm
good.
back.
You're back.
Yep.
Ladies, it's 11 p.m. in Italy, so, everyone is on the internet right now. Okay, so thank you very much for having us again, and thank you again, honestly, for the introduction. So I run a consultancy called BeWise, London and, Australian-based, and if there is one thing that I've been focusing a lot for the last few years, is certainly, digital twins. So it's going to be the main topic for today. And what we're going to, basically what we want to get is a bit of insights from everyone. And if there is one question that I get asked all the time, every day, multiple times a day, is definitely what is a digital twin. I also had this crazy idea back in March, and I founded the House of Digital Twins Club on Clubhouse, where we ran 50 rooms in English, French, Italian, and German, where some of the people here being guests, KP as well. Today, KP, by the way, is still the most successful room I ever ran out of the 50. So thank you, KP. But definitely the most asked question.
Her internet is not agreeing with her today.
No. It adds to the humor, and I'm going to sit here and sip my morning tea and let that kick in for a little bit.
Well, I tell you what, Belinda, do you want to go ahead and answer?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
No,
So
talk.
Every time I go to talk.
Your name is the magic word, Belinda. It
I
gets
think
very.
so.
What I don't understand is why I can hear you. You can't hear me. But anyway, don't worry. I'll fix my internet in a second. So what happens is I actually created and cloned my own definition of digital twins, which hopefully relates is going to kick off a bit of the discussion here while I fix my internet. And what is a digital twin for the built environment? Yeah, we are the artists of the built environment who carefully decides, the materials to be applied. A digital twin is the combination of the canvas with the integrated inherited understanding of the existing built assets and how they interact with the previous, existing, and future generations. Okay, so this is the definition here. Do you like it? Often people are gonna like it, but let's kick off the discussion. And what I would like to, the topic of today is how you actually leveraging digital twins. What do you actually do in every day, to leverage this, the opportunity that digital twins can bring to us. So let's start and kick off and the discussion with Belinda, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that, Cristina. Just to give a quick background to myself, so I run a business called Magnae, and we do digital transformation overall. So we look at digital twins as well as anything else that's related to that kind of aspect. So in terms of how I go about implementing digital twins, particularly with businesses, is that we start to find out the exact reason that they want to implement them. And that goes through your profitability analysis, basically. So I'm going to sit there with them and I'm going to say, okay, are you looking to implement a digital twin to improve your costs around your business? Are you looking at them to create brand new market share? Are you looking at it to reduce your costs across your business as well? Or are you looking at it to refine some of those fixed cost assets that you have within your business? So they're the kind of 4 core things that we focus on when we go in to implement a digital twin. And then we start to refine each of those steps around that. Some of those steps are then looking at what is it from a physical perspective that you need to observe and watch, and the information that you're trying to collect around that particular physical asset, and then how you're going to connect that to the virtual environment, how you're going to query that information within that virtual environment to then be able to utilize that and visualize that in many different ways across your ecosystem within your business. So that's kind of my perspective on it. Christina's disappeared.
All right. I can go next if that's okay. So I'm Gigi Karmous-Edwards. I run my own consulting business, Karmous-Edwards Consulting. And I have been working on digital twins probably for the last 7 years, but my focus is probably a little bit different than most everyone's. I'm very focused on the water infrastructure and water utility space, and utilizing digital twins there. And I've also, I'm the founder and the co-chair of the SWAN Digital Twin Working Group, which SWAN is a organization, is a forum for the global water sector on, improving digital technologies across the water sector. Like, how do you raise awareness? How do you build best practices, et cetera? So the Digital Twin Working Group does that specifically for digital twin. I've also created a course with Julius and Swan called Demystifying Digital Twins. I don't know if Cristina took it or not. She said she was, but maybe not yet. Anyway, in there, I distilled the definition of digital twin, and I'm going to read it to you. It's just one sentence. It's digital twins are the integration of context data, so the data around the physical system, with behavioral models. I think behavioral models are really at the core of a digital twin of a system or a process. So it could be like a component, like a pump. It could be a whole building. It could be a whole, water distribution, or it could be a process. But it's a behavioral model of that system or process that provides the kind of insights that humans want to gain in order to make decisions. And eventually machines will gain so they can automate, the decisions that humans were making, but then automate those. So to me, that is a simple sentence. Digital twins are the integration of context data with behavioral models of system and processes that provide insights for humans and machines. So that's sort of a brief introduction of what I think a digital twin is.
Great, thank you. I fixed my internet, hopefully.
Yay!
You know, the old phone 3G always does the trick, guys. Okay, so Belinda, so you already introduce yourself and what you cool stuff that you do. Great. Gigi, I think I don't know if I missed it, but you actually happen to work with one of the most iconic projects, like on the planet. Maybe you want to mention that?
Yes, of course. I have several clients around the globe, from water utilities, technology companies, and one of my favorite clients of all time is this project called NEOM. It's a futuristic city in the Middle East. It's a $500 billion project. And I'm super excited because one of the things that I'm working on is a digital twin for the water infrastructure in the design phase, which hopefully will translate to digital twin for all the sectors, because they're the same concepts. You know, how do you use BIM? How do you collect that information? How do you move that through construction and into operations? So thank you, Cristina. But that is a very exciting.
It is, because I think what is interesting now, there is a lot of still utopia, right, out there on what is a digital twin. We're still, discussing what's the definition, but the reality is, I know you all work on a daily basis on implementing digital twin. So I actually really want to hear, from you, like, what is like, right? What are the things that we don't hear? If there is one thing that I certainly learned, we learned from running this 50 rooms in multiple languages, is that is a very, very common problem across the globe. Everyone is asking very, very simple questions, like what does it really mean to me, right? And what are the challenges? So I think what would be great to discuss between us is a bit more, what do you see the challenges, right, on running digital twins programs on a daily day-to-day basis? So, and maybe Miranda, we can start with you. So thank you so much, Miranda, for joining us. Miranda is the digital twin lead at Wood PLC. I also found very interesting because Miranda is a retired captain of the Royal Canadian Air Force. And so I know exactly the background you normally find. And also what I found fascinating is, because obviously I saw her running the program and everything. So certainly there is a structure that she brought, to the team. But what I think is very interesting is, if you have any, what do you think are the challenges in running digital twin, implementing digital twin programs, right? And if you have any tips, apart from hiring an ex-military to actually run it, properly, what tips do you have, and what can you share with us?
Thanks, Cristina. So I'm a project manager that comes out of Wood for nearly 9 years now, and a lot of my background here has been regulatory requirements for offshore oil and gas, environmental assessments, impact statements, and weather forecasting, believe it or not. But my background, as Cristina has mentioned, is I was a reservist member, a captain in the reserves for about 15 years, and I'm a trained pilot. So my life is very much process and procedure. Everything has a place, and that's where it goes, and that's how we move forward. So I'm very big on detail, change management, and all of those things. So for the last year, just about, I've been working with Wood's internal digital twin team. And one thing that I think, a couple things that I think really are the barriers right now, it's not necessarily the technology, it's the resources available to break into that technology, and the resources available to actually be able to move the product forward. The resource field seems to be slim internally. We are a company of nearly 60,000 people, and it would really surprise you how few resources we have that actually have the ability and the technical background to get us moving and implementing different stages of the digital twin throughout the life cycle. So insert external consultants, and subcontractors, but even those people seem to be much more limited than I personally thought. I kind of surprised me a little bit to the fact that there wasn't so many more people out there working in this industry or doing this type of thing. So resourcing, I think right now, internally and externally, is a huge factor for us. The second thing is getting everybody the buy-in, as I call it, from executive leadership, stakeholders. They all think it's a great idea in theory, and they're we're going to support this and we're going to move it forward. However, getting that true buy-in of those people to support you and to give you the help when you reach out and say, I have no resources, I have all this money and I have it to spend, and I have nobody to spend it on. And then they stop and say, we have nobody either. But by getting to that point, they're like, yep, don't worry, we're there, we'll help you. So they have the buy-in, but I don't truly feel that it's accurate all the time. And so getting that buy-in of executive level leadership and stakeholders, I feel, is the second barrier to us being able to use digital twins internally to our full potential. Risk. We all have risk, and I can't speak to a lot of risk internally as I am a consultant inside of a large corporation. But we look at risk and we realize that this buy-in from stakeholders, the integration of those stakeholders and the executive leadership, and the lack of resources, you can see the snowball effect and how that's going to really affect the true outcome and success of a digital twin program. You can have all the money in the world to spend on it, but if you don't have the right people and you don't have the right stakeholders to support it, you have nothing.
Very true. Very true. Amanda, as you are very big on change management, and thank you for joining us. I know it's 7:18 in the morning for you. So tell us how you do that. How do you overcome those challenges within, a very similar program you run at Mott?
Sure. Well, firstly, Miranda, you and I need to speak because I like the problem you have. From where I sit within Mott's, we are an engineering consultancy firm, and challenges that you face are challenges that we like to solve for. And in my particular role, I assist senior or executive management really understand why they need that digital twin. And you're 100% when you say right now, digital twins are the new buzzword. It is the new thing that everybody has to have. Don't necessarily know why they want it, but we've got to have it and want it today. That kind of mentality. So then we come in as a consultant and sit down and go, great. So there's this thing called the digital twin that you say you want. Why do you want it? What are you going to use it for? What decisions are you going to make for it? And that's where the blank face comes in. So whenever we speak about digital twins to anybody, I like to simplify it. It has to be so simple, even to the point where we don't use words like data. Let's bring it down to the basics. Data is going to be information. Let's make sure we speak to the client in the language they understand, and then take them on that journey all the way up until, they're able to articulate what it is they want. So that change management piece has to start from the get-go. It has to be driven from the executive leaders so that they understand. They don't need to understand, the nitty-gritty parts of how it all fits together. They have to understand that at the end of the day, this is what we think we're going to get. And hopefully it is the full life cycle of the project, or it might just be, that beginning stage. So I like to use the smartwatch as an example of what a digital twin is, because it's something that a lot of us, have or can understand, or even your phone, smartphone. Because at the end of the day, a watch still does the same function that it was originally invented for back I don't want to show any of our ages, but back when it was still a sundial, we wanted to tell time. All we did was we just built on that and then added different attributes to that. So with time, and we wanted to tell time because we wanted to be able to get from point A to point B perhaps by a certain period of time. But what we did was we then added the weather onto it, right? So I now know that for me to get from home to work, it's going to rain, so maybe I should bring an umbrella, right? And then on top of that, we added, say, bus routes or bus timetables or train timetables to enable me to get there quicker. So the more information you add to what this platform or this element that you're building, the more efficient it comes, but you're still doing the same thing. You're just doing it much more efficiently. And then where the machine learning comes in is where it's now going to realize that, all right, Amanda usually gets up at 7. She goes for a walk. It's going to rain. So I'm going to say to her, hey, it's going to rain. Grab an umbrella. Or that particular path that you normally take, there's a bit of road work happening. So maybe that 5-kilometer walk that you're going to do, here's a new route for you to do. So just trying to simplify that to them and then turning it into their business. And then the other thing is removing that fear, because there's a lot of fear. Let's be honest. Miranda hit the nail on the head. Not many people, a lot of people want it, but not many people actually can do. So there's that fear of, if we dive into this world, are we actually going to get what we hope we're going to get? We're about to spend a whole lot of money on something we don't even know. So how do you remove the fear? You remove the fear really by making it very relevant to the client, right? And it goes right back to those simple questions. And this is one of Cristina's favorite questions, sentences. I think she says this all the time. What data-driven decision do you want to make? Constantly. What is it? Using the information you already collect, right? What decision do you want to make? So in 10 years' time, where do you see yourself? And it's that future casting that we like to do with clients. So Miranda, perhaps that's something you can do with your team. I just say to them, okay, this is where we are today. We all understand our current situation. Where do we see ourselves in 5 years' time? And how are we going to get there using technology? And then you can go over and visit Belinda, who'll give you a solution.
Exactly.
A technical solution for it.
Exactly. So now let's explore. I think we have two sides in how obviously asking Belinda, how do we actually go into the detail, the technical side? But also I have like a bit of a question. I think we can go both ways. On Gigi, I mean, it's challenging to overcome all of this, like in large organization. I cannot even imagine what it's like, overcoming in one of the biggest projects on earth, and how do you actually get the buy-in, right? So anyway, let's go from, who wants to start, Gigi or Belinda? Go.
You can go,
Belinda.
Gigi.
Oh, let's go, Gigi.
Okay, so you're saying what are some of the biggest challenges?
Well, it's how do you actually overcome it, like in such a big iconic project? Because I mean, it's very difficult for very established organizations, right? But from my experience, because I have a bit of experience and work with some of the projects in the Saudi, it tends to be like very new teams just bringing together a lot of different and very massive large number of stakeholders, right? And people working on the project. So all together in a very, very, constraint, like limits and, time, and a lot of constraints, right? So how do you overcome those challenges within NEOM? For how much you can share?
Yeah, I mean, this is for all my projects. Even, I have another client in the US, a very large progressive water utility. One beautiful thing about digital twin is it really opens up the transparency of information. And that is really enlightening. I was talking to someone, this is in the United States, I was talking to someone who's been in operations for their whole entire career. They look at pumps and they feel like they're gathering just the right information from pumps. And if I go and approach him and I say, well, can we get sub-second information about this? And let's really get this so we can calculate this other number. At the beginning, maybe he would say, well, absolutely, there's no reason to get anything more than hourly data from this pump, and we can get all the insights we need. But then, you don't tell him, like I didn't, say, well, no, you're wrong. We have to get this sub-second and just follow along. It's more like, well, let's explore this together. Let's get in brainstorming sessions together. Let's learn from each other. You're the expert. And we always, with digital twin, you always have to rely on their expertise. And it's not like their expertise is going away. Their expertise is going to enhance everything. So even people who are not already bought in would be part of the conversation. And eventually they get bought in, slowly, step by step. And it's their ideas that really create the digital twin. So, that challenge does exist, and it's going to exist in every industry, no matter where we go, as we digitize more and more. And really, digital twin is about digitization of information that we used to have paper. I mean, everything was a piece of paper. Every product had product data sheet or had, efficiency curves, and we walked around with paper and files, and that's just a world that's so different than where we're going, where everyone has access to the same information. So it's kind of democratizing information and data, and democratizing, creating more of a flatter organization, because every input is essential for coming up with the challenges of the digital twin, and as well as the insights that you want to get out of a digital twin. And one other thing I would like to say is, when I think of a digital twin, I do not think it's like, it's like a house. We don't say, oh, let me go get a house, and you go to some store and you buy a house and you put it on a piece of land. It's really the collaboration of so many entities that really creates a digital twin. And it's your vision of what you want, what is the objective that you care about in order to develop this. And it's an ongoing journey. So I think the way we think about digital twin, we should bring down the fear by just letting everyone know it's a journey that we're all going on together, and we're going to share more, and every person has a contribution to make.
I love that. The house analogy, that is brilliant. You're absolutely right. And everybody does have an input. Wow, that's good.
So, well, exactly. So now we have Belinda, right? So going back, to you and the technical side. So it's a collaboration, right? We heard from Miranda, it's absolutely impossible to find resources, to have the technical expertise and, for the implementation. So, can we steal them from somewhere else, right? What's the solution, right? Where are we going to find these people?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to go a little bit back. So, Gigi, I really love your example, but I also think that our term that we use is collective intelligence. And that's kind of what you're doing, right? You're collecting all the information from all these people. And to be honest, that's what I absolutely love about this job, is that you may not be an expert in a particular field, but once you start to work with these people and understand the way that they look at this world, my goodness, your eyes are open to, so many brand new things when you start to see this, right? And that can be from a transport modeler and planner of a city through to your water infrastructure and understanding the market and purchasing water and all of those sorts of things. It's fascinating as you start to build all of this up. So I think there's a couple of key portions that are coming out of this session. The first one is that collaboration and coordination between people, and understanding how to talk to people to get the kind of information out of them that you need to start to structure what this scope of a digital twin is actually going to be and how it's going to perform for people. And I think when you go through those initial discussions, and very much for myself being in digital transformation overall, we walk in there with, what is it that you absolutely hate about your job? What is it that you cannot stand that you do, that you would love that to be automated? What is it that you hate about the way that the system works? Is there something about this system that isn't working for you as well? And then as you slowly morph those sorts of things, you're thinking in the background, or definitely I am, thinking about the types of technology solutions that start to work within this digital twin. So we've touched a little bit on Amanda, you touched on the AI side of it in terms of how it automates all of these processes for people because it's learning. So it's learning your processes that you're going through. But then there's also other aspects of this as well. It's things of bringing in all of these mega trends together to make them perform in a more succinct kind of manner. So if we start to think about bringing in things like blockchain, because blockchain is going to help with the water infrastructure, because it's going to tell you whether things are in warranty, it's going to classify whether things are allowed to happen at particular points. So a great example of that is connecting that with your AI. The AI might say that this particular valve needs to be turned at this particular time, but as far as the warranty goes, the smart contract's not going to let you do that. So you've got to be careful and balance all of those sorts of things out.
Yeah.
That's to me, that's part of the really fun part is how do you connect all of that ecosystem of all these different technologies together? I think one of the very big misconceptions is that this is one particular platform. And that it's going to be something that's just connected and got all of these other little pieces connected into it. And that's not real life. It's not the way, unless you've got something small, maybe. But when we're talking about enormous big assets and running these assets and cities and countries out of these sorts of things, we're talking about a real distributed ecosystem. And I think that's one of the key things to think about here is that you do have your specialist people that are running a particular portion. So it could be a portion of a water infrastructure, it could be a portion of an actual city, and how they're bringing that kind of data and information into play and connecting that together, and who's responsible for those sorts of things as well. Gigi, you talked about data and the transparency of data, and to me that is one of the key points of how does that connect into the information that you're trying to collect across all of these different assets to reach that high level performance as well. And to me, this is what we're doing it for, right? We're trying to reduce our money, we're trying to make sure that we're running more efficiently, so we've got more time to make better decisions. Yeah, so they're my kind of key things. I want more time to be able to be creative and make better decisions, and I want to hand that over to those smart people so they can have some time to do that.
You're muted.
I was unmuted. Do you have a solution to the resource problem that Miranda was highlighting earlier? Because it's a very common problem that I believe Amanda is experiencing as well. Gigi, I cannot even imagine where all these people, to work in the new project comes from. So, I mean, what is the suggestion? Because everyone is kind of, as we all discussed, everyone wants digital twins, right? So everyone wants this expertise. The expertise is very, very limited. What are we going to do? Where are we going to find those?
I would like to say something about it. I mean, I don't think that there is a curriculum anywhere today where you just go and you get a digital twin degree.
Yeah.
I think digital twin. I mean, I really believe that digital twin, in order to do it properly, is bringing together all the different expertise. You mean, you definitely have some people somewhere in the organization who are modelers. Again, models are the key component of a digital twin. You need their expertise. You have other people that go in and visit assets and try to understand assets when they start to not work. How do you fix them? They are critical. They don't need to know modeling. They don't need to know the weather system. They don't even need to know digitization, but they do need to know that on this particular asset, here is the model number, here is when it was installed, here is some information that helps them do their job better. And so bringing all of these perspectives together really is, you don't have to get new people, you have to train, and you might need to get a few new people, Miranda, you're correct. But you still, the training part, I think, is also a big part of the digital transformation and really harnessing the expertise that you do have, because that's really what's going to make a digital twin. It's not bringing someone from the outside that really doesn't understand your system. It's people who understand the system, that when you come together in a collaborative environment, you build a digital twin together. I know that sounds very optimistic or naive, but honestly, that's what I've been going through. And the interesting part is like, we find these like new things. Is like, oh, well, we're collaborating with this geospatial environment here. And look, they actually get information about the sunshine. And then, and we have weather data over here, but the sunshine really makes a difference on how it hits this part of the building and how it does the heat transfer. So this person over here that's doing the modeling of the building, could use this information from this other application that they didn't have an intention to use in the first place. But all of a sudden now we're sitting in the room together and we're like, yes, let's bring that in through an API. Let's do the calculations. Let's enhance our model. So these kind of things seem to be coming up quite often when you're collaborating for a digital twin.
Correct. And I think, Gigi, when you look at larger organizations, there is a misconception that Belinda touched on lightly, on that you're going to get one big digital twin as opposed to micro digital twins, because every business unit has a specific use for it. So you will end up, your data will be the same, right? You've got that common piece of information, but what you do with it is going to differ. And perhaps what we could do is look at, and I don't want to say in isolation, because that is definitely not what digital twins are about. It's about integration and collaboration. But if you looked at what you're trying to solve for, or what decisions you want to make, or what information you want to see, and went to market with that view, but then had an overarching view to say, at the end of the day, we want everything to connect, but this particular stakeholder, be it in finance, needs to see X, Y, Z bits of information. And these guys over here in ops, this is what they need to see. But at the end of the day, that has to talk to that. And what I'm finding with a few of the clients that we've got is they're trying to boil the ocean. So we're trying to do absolutely everything to the point where we're not doing anything. We're just going around in circles, and we go, okay, what have we done? We've spent, a whole heap of money discovering the current state, but really haven't moved forward. We haven't started delivering, and that's where you start to lose a client, because you're not delivering, not seeing anything. You've just been talking to a whole bunch of people. How do you move forward? And this is where you could kind of start setting a program of some variety with hold points. But I do like the what you're saying in terms of connecting information. But it's a fun space to be in, can I just say?
Absolutely. I think also strategy is a big thing, right? Like it's very easy for us to say, the skills aren't out there, we can't do this, or we don't have that internally, or something like that. So if I was looking at an implementation that's at a consulting perspective, so something that's for such as an engineering consulting or whatever they might be, I'd be thinking about, well, what does that future aspiration look like? So what kind of service are we trying to provide for our clients around that digital twin space? And then start to think about, okay, how do I raise that digital literacy that's going to help reach that particular point within each of our disciplines and subunits and things like that as well. And realistically, this isn't just something that would happen in a consultancy type of business like that. It also happens for a client that's running an asset. You're thinking about the same thing. So if it's an asset that you want it to run itself, how are you going to get to that particular point? Well, gradually you're going to have to build up the smarts and the intelligence that's embedded in all of those wonderful people that you've got within your business into that particular platform and solution that you've got at the end of the day. So to me, that strategy is really the key piece to make sure that you can execute it.
And it is the digital literacy. I think the big tick for any consultants out there, which is something I know we're doing internally, is part of the service is to upskill your client. Because at the end of the day, what you want to be able to do as a client, if I was to put myself in a client's shoes, I want to be able to run this thing myself because I want to own it. And I should own it because it's my information, right? And I'd like to not have to rely on a consultant to be there for the entire life of of it, unless I've got this bottomless pit of money and, make it their problem. But that digital literacy and upskilling of our own people also comes back to, you know, that whole idea of investing in your own people, right? Removing the fear, because if they see that your organization is investing in them to move in this particular direction that they're trying to go to, you tend to find people are more willing to share the knowledge that's currently stored in the hard drive up here, which, you know, we can't really rely on the older we get. So,
speak for yourself, lady. Come on.
Look, you know.
I would like to share. I'd like to share this really interesting thing that came out of one of the working groups in the digital twin working groups for the water sector. So about a few decades ago, many water systems, like in the UK, for example, split their drinking water utility from their wastewater utility and their stormwater utility. So these were like 3 separate entities, and they ran their own businesses, right? But if you think about it, the water cycle, you know, a molecule of water really comes from the source, goes through the distribution, and then eventually, if I get it out of my faucet, it's going to go down the drain, and it's going to go into the sewer system. It's going to get treated, and it's going to go right back to the source. So a water molecule really does go through this full cycle. And during the digital twin working group, one of the guys, I think he's from Anglian Water, said, you know, as we started developing more and more our digital twin, we realized like we caused so many problems for ourselves by splitting us up. Like now we realize that all this information is so helpful that we need to come back together as an entity, because that water molecule does go around all of these systems. So if you think about the drinking water distribution, you have a model of when the water is being used or consumed, that directly feeds information to the wastewater, where before there was a wall there. And as they started developing digital twin, they're like, oh gosh, we need to come back together. We need to collaborate. We need to work together because all our systems are interconnected. I thought that was the biggest aha moment. You know,
should have recorded it.
We did this to ourselves 2 decades ago. Now they got to work to bring it all together.
So this is, you know, it's exactly what, you know, is happening, right? They were trying, you know, it was too complex to run them together, so they decided to split and, you know, have them grown, and now they're. So let's hear from, you know, Miranda, right? Because, you know, you've been running the program, you are the one bringing everyone together, right? So is there anything that you can share on how do you reverse, right? Because I saw you, you know, actually saw you doing it, right? I saw you how, you know, you managed to get like people from completely different, you know, groups and, you know, business units to, you know, to work together. So is there anything from the, you know, program manager point of view and everything that you can share, and any of the, I don't know, military tips on how, you know, how to do it, how to tackle this?
I think all of these ladies hit the nail on the head when they say you're not alone, right? It's a team effort at the end of the day. No matter if that team of us started as 3 a year ago and now we've expanded to nearly 20, it's a team effort. So it's sitting there and realizing, like Gigi said, you have a modeler here, you have somebody who can, you know, extract data over here, and it's really mapping out where in the business can we find these people. They don't need to be perfect, but where in the business can we find these people? And that right now is one of those things that has become a risk, that if we don't find these people. So it's about sitting down and taking the time to map that out. Where do those people come from? How are we going to get them? And time. Nobody has time. Everybody's busy, right? Busy's like digital twin. Everybody want one, but everybody's busy. We're all busy. We got things to do. We're so busy, right? So I don't have time. I can't fit that in my calendar. So busy is, I'm busy. I'm so busy. It's all you hear. So it's about prioritizing and making the time to figure it out, to figure out where that resource is going to come from, to figure out how much of that resource's time we can get, and setting expectations that are realistic, and realizing that these things take time. right? Everybody wants it to happen now. Everybody wants that digital twin and wants to be ahead of the guy, that's coming behind them, or the other guy that you're reading about in the news. And well, they've done it. So and so did it. Why haven't we done it? Because we need to prioritize our time and map out where our resources will come from. And when we're less busy, we'll put the full effort in to move it forward. So I think creating goals and milestones and consistent communication has been key. And as a person that comes from the military, communication, sometimes I feel like I might over communicate, but that's me. That's the way it works. And I feel like having that consistent communication and sitting down and prioritizing your time to make this a priority, and trying to engage those stakeholders and make them realize that things take time, and in order to get there, we need to figure out where we can find those resources within the business or outside of the business if that needs to be the case.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's the cluster of those skills as well, isn't it? It's whereabouts are those skills grouped, so then you know how to actually set that team up.
Yeah, and who's that one person that knows where this gem is sitting, right, within the wider business? Because yes, we're one company, but as a consulting company, we're broke down across the entire world trying to pinpoint a needle in a haystack to a certain extent. So it's finding that contact that's going to say, oh wait, I know, and I think that's where stakeholder engagement is vital, because they know where that that needle in the haystack is sitting in the whether that's in Canada or Australia or the UK or wherever that US, wherever that person's coming from. But you need that stakeholder engagement to say, hey, I know where your needle is.
Yeah.
I completely agree with that. I think you start to cluster it a little bit too. Sorry, Cristina, but I just...
oh, that's okay. Go.
This is the part I really enjoy, these sorts of things. So when we think about, you're talking about strategy and the facilitators and the people that are going to find the right people across your business. And to me, that's that real strategic kind of space. And then the next one's about who are the data collectors? Who are the ones that are scanning, collecting information that could be relevant for these sorts of things? Where are those sorts of people that are really great at research and that kind of stuff? Then the next one's about where's the analyzers? Where's the ones that are really great at analyzing the data and information that's coming forward from all of these different disciplines and being able to connect that information for everybody else? But then where is the visualization and the consumer side of it as well? So where are those people that are creating these immersive environments for people to run the assets more efficiently and stuff like that too? And I think that's where you start to realize that those 4 clusters are exactly what starts to help you fish within your business and within your client's business to piece it all together. And that's the juicy fun, right?
Yeah. Thank you, ladies. We are waiting for questions. For anyone in the audience has some questions for this very international panel. We have Belinda and Amanda from Australia. We have Gigi from US, Miranda from Canada, and me, that I'm a very international, as I'm actually in Europe and Italy, and it's nearly midnight, guys. So I'm very surprised I'm still so energetic. Anyway, thank you so much for this. I think it was extremely insightful. We heard a lot about, how we are leveraging, digital twins in various organizations. To sum up a little, let's see if I remember everything. And all the key points, it's all obviously, we say, what is a digital twin is about, data is about integration, is about collaboration. It's about over communicating, is about upskilling, the existing, workforce. Any else? Everyone else has some closing lines?
Having fun.
Yes.
Okay. Don't forget to have fun.
Yeah, there's no point in doing this unless it's, creating some energy in the way that you're doing it as well. And I think having a bit of fun as you're piecing all of this together is the key point. And I think it does. It brings everyone together, right? That's part of it.
Absolutely.
Correct.
Yeah.
The communication piece that Miranda was talking about is just, this is what digital twins are trying to do, bring us together to communicate, to connect. just ensuring that, you know, you are sharing your information. You'll actually be hindering the process if, you know, you work in silos and hold on to the knowledge. It doesn't empower the team at all.
With that transfer of knowledge, it's you know, it's kind of pointless.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do want to say something about technologies that is also taking or leveraging existing technologies, and they're getting better and better every single day. You know, Industry 4.0, we have drone technology that can detect amazing things right now. We have sensors that are less expensive than, I don't know, a pen that you buy to write with these days. We're detecting materials and environments with new technologies and sensors every single day. So that gives us more information, more knowledge. I think cloud computing is also another game changer, because cloud computing is essential for running these heavy simulations on a continuous basis for the models. And, you know, that has really changed the game and allowed us to run these simulation and create something what we're calling a digital twin. So I think, you know, we talked a lot about the people side of things, but the technology side is just as important, and we should be leveraging what exists today, and, you know, how the cost is constantly going down, and allowing us to do more and more analysis and taking advantage of Industry 4.0.
Yes, thank you. Well said, Gigi. It's you know, as mentioned, definitely some of the things that come up of, you know, these 50, you know, so about digital twins, and it was definitely, you know, the second most attended session after KP. It was actually digital twins and deep learning, right? So exactly that is how do we leverage, you know, Industry 4.0. Belinda session on, you know, blockchain, you know, was great, and hopefully you're gonna repeat that, you know, very soon. And you can immediately say, you know, see that yes, we do need all the collaboration, we need to integrate, we need to over communicate, but we can't, you know, implement, you know, digital twins without the support of the technology, which, as I say, it's mostly there. It's about leveraging it, and also upskilling the existing workforce, that we have, so we can leverage and get the benefits, you know, and you know, achieve the outcomes that we want. We have the last couple of minutes. Ian, is there any questions? I can't see anything on the channel.
Yes. Thank you all so much. This was such a great panel. Thoroughly enjoyed it. We had a great turnout, and hopefully we all learned a thing or two. I'll put my contact information into the chat, and if anybody would like an introduction, if I may make that offer, ladies, please reach out to me, and I'd be happy to do so. I think, you know, communication is key and collaboration is key. So if you'd like to connect with any one of these leaders in digital twins, reach out to me, and I'm sure they'd be more than happy to make the connection.
Thank you, Ian.
Thank you, ladies, all so much for joining.
Great. Thank you so much, ladies. Thank you, KP, for inviting us.
So nice.
We've got one final keynote coming up with Shantae Harris talking about sustainability. So feel free to come and join that. You're all welcome. You all have access to the event, and then we'll see everybody tomorrow. But thank you very much. Good morning, good evening, good night, good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. See you all.